Hello and welcome to Voices of BlueScope, the podcast where we go behind the scenes at BlueScope to meet the people who create strength every day. I'm your host, Martin Feld. Thank you for listening. In this episode, we're featuring a group discussion about a long-term coral restoration project in Malaysia, which has been implemented by our people using BlueScope products and in collaboration with volunteers from the organisation Borneo Divers. Our three participants are Emelyn Low, External Affairs Manager at NS BlueScope in Malaysia, Jonathan Tan, General Manager at NS BlueScope Lysaght Sabah, and Rayner Binijin, Scuba Instructor at Borneo Divers. Together, they explain how underwater reef beds came to be made of TRUECORE steel, facilitating the embedding of thousands of young coral plants to support the rejuvenation of local ecosystems. Let's cross to the interview now.
Hi, everyone. This is Emelyn, and I'm actually the External Affairs Manager. I work in NS BlueScope Malaysia, and since when I took over the External Affairs position in 2016, and one of the CSR projects that we have embarked on is this one, which is the coral planting. And our colleagues in Sabah, in Lysaght Sabah, had a very great coordinations. We had 3 different stages of the planting on coral, and we'll talk about that after this. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jonathan from NS BlueScope Lysaght Sabah, Sdn Bhd. I took on board this general manager position since year 2017. Previously, I was in commercial department as commercial manager. I've been with NS BlueScope Lysaght Sabah for 15 years. And since taking on the GM's role, this coral reef restoration program is one of the CSR projects that was undertaken.
Hi, my name is Rayner Binijin. I work with Borneo Divers, Sdn Bhd, currently as a scuba instructor. I've been diving since 1995 until now. During that years of experience diving, I managed to assist some of the professor, NGO, CSR, doing the coral restoration and others, and together with the Sabah Park. So I am actually based in Tunku Abdul Rahman Park. It's just 5 minutes of Kota Kinabalu. So that's it.
Perfect. Thank you each for those opening introductions, those explanations of your roles and where you're coming from. Heading back to you, Emelyn, could you please give some context for this coral restoration? How did NS BlueScope become aware of this problem, and how was the decision made to become involved?
We started this program back in the 1998, I think. So in the Reef Check Malaysia report, we saw a survey that it says that there is almost 4% of coral reef in Sabah being destroyed each year. So that was actually the initiative that we thought something that we can do when we always say that we want to do something in where we operate. And coral planting is one thing that in the heart of all the employees that they want to do something for the environment. Coral is probably, I would say that not everyone knows how to dive, and therefore we have to partner with Sabah Park to get the approval on that. Also, we reconnect back with the Borneo Divers to see how we can actually work that together. With that, we have the Sabah Lysaght initiated this in November 2017. Using a cement-treated base with resin, and that was actually made and transport, and also we sink it down to the coral nursery. Then this method was actually done, and we thought of a trial, the first trial, and see how actually we can do it in a larger scale. So that was a very small scale. And when it comes to the second year in 2018, this is actually a second coral planting that we attempted using the similar method. With that, we found that there is some whether we can do BlueScope recycling truss material that we can do as a bed for the plants and how to actually help to hold on for the stability. And with that, we do a lot of cement molds onto the surface, and we got the help from the certified divers to plant it under the water. And this initiative, I wouldn't want to go to the third phase. Maybe the third phase we can all discuss together. It's going to be a very exciting conversation from there. So for this two initiative, I would say that there's always a failure when we start off something that we are unfamiliar with. But for Sabah Lysaght, with the leadership of Jonathan, nothing is too difficult. So we keep trying until the third phase that we finally succeeded with that. So let's discuss on the third phase after this.
Okay, thank you, Emelyn. And leading up to that third phase, Jonathan, can you give some more context about the project leading up to that, what your involvement was, and what it was like to go through these trials or overcoming maybe some failures or difficulties along the way?
Sure. This coral reef restoration program started in sometime 2017, since I took on board the positions of GM, in an effort to promote the preservation of our environment. Cupcake-sized cement mold was made using plastic container and transport down to the coral nursery before corals are planted individually. And this method can only be executed by the certified divers and has limitation on the numbers of corals to be planted. Only 40 corals managed to be planted with this first attempt method. But on the bright side, it was reported at the time 80% of these corals being planted survived. Following updates from Borneo Divers, such as Rayner in this case, who has helped us a lot, out of the 40 baby corals planted, more than 80% survived. In our next attempt, which is the second attempt, we at the time were targeting to plant 200 corals. The result was more than convincing. We managed to do 311. The second attempt occurred on the 8th of June 2018. Using the same method, the underwater cement treated with resin. Mid of year was chosen because we were given understand from Borneo Divers that early and end of the year wasn't a good month, good timing for this kind of activity or programs. So in order to increase the yield, we incorporated the method with the use of BlueScope recycled truss material, as mentioned by Emelyn moments ago, which we feel the reason of choosing the recycled material is such that instead of being discarded or being scrapped, right, we make full use of what we had already available. So 5 corals frame using our C channel, C75 channel, made from our TRUECORE material were being used. And the treated cement was then poured onto the C75 channel and transported underwater when it was half cured by the certified divers. It was then secured to the coral frames before corals were planted along the channels. With this method, BlueScope employees were able to participate, regardless you are able to dive or not. So the result was that 311 corals were planted, and they're growing well at the time until the second month when the frame were hit with a strong wave following major ATEL hit of 2 typhoons from Philippines as well as Japan. As a result, only partial of these corals survive. In Sabah, normally we will encounter quite a few times of this major tail end. We call it tail end of typhoon, on a year-to-year basis, The magnitude of it, how serious it is, varies year to year. So following our learning gain from the first 2 attempts, together with the support of our collaborator, Borneo Divers, we have decided to try out planting corals using coral flags and to identify new corals nursery where the location is closer to the sandy slope. The reason for that is we would want to increase the chances of coral survival and its protection from the strong wave following the unpredictable change of weather. The coral planting activity organized by us, Lysaght Sabah, was at the time led by Maureen Liu, who had left us. So the third attempt happened on the 23rd January 2019 at the island of Mamutik of Sabah. The coral flags from BlueScope Steel Malaysia regional office as well as other sites in Malaysia were planted with corals harvest from the previous coral planting activity. Then it was then taken down to the sea approximately 5 meters deep to be stationed on the seabed using the balance of our unused trusses material. Even though at the time that we were doing that in year 2019, the third attempt on the day of the event, the weather wasn't that good. It was raining and the weather only cleared up around 9 a.m. later on. So we begin to plant this reef coral grooves stick to the live coral on the flat. After 15 seconds, it was then soaked in a tub of seawater to keep it alive and then transferred to the trusses, about 20 flags in each trusses. It was then taken down by our collaborator, Sabah Borneo Divers, as well as any volunteer divers, to the secure frame, the coral frames that we design onto the seabed. We also invite other BlueScope sites to participate who are unable to be physically here with us. What we did is we distribute the flags that we had ordered earlier on. Okay, upon arriving, we distribute to them, courier over to them. And what they need to do is to write their names and messages on the flags, then courier back to us. The plan was to plant on behalf of them because they couldn't come.
Thank you for sharing so much detail and a very thorough explanation of what actually had to go into planting this coral within this recycled steel frame. But the idea of recycling it to be used underwater, that's fantastic. It also seems a little bit less typical to hear about divers installing things made of steel. So I'd love to hear from you, Rayner. With your experience as a diver, can you tell us what it was like to be involved in this program? Did you have experience doing things like this before? What was it like?
Yeah, I did. My first time is actually collecting data with the university, UMS, University Malaysia Sabah. The SFO professor is actually studying the impact after the Great Monsoon in at somewhere around 1996-7, where most of the coral have vanished by the bad monsoon, and then he is actually tried to revive them also. I'm actually quite interested on how that to be done. And then Sabah Park also opened their own marine unit. So I joined them to collect data, not only collect data on the coral, or also the marine life that actually in the park. So they actually give that data and try to pass the message on how important through educations, something like that. They have their own museum built, I think, several years before the COVID year.
Rayner, could you explain the experience of being underwater, helping with programs like this? What's it like to see this man-made construction reviving or replenishing this underwater life?
Oh, for me, it's after years of diving in the same area, I see the impact is actually it's not good, but we need to do something. It's quite similar to timber. We cut off the tree for the wood, and the coral is actually from the development. And then my work is to bring divers to see the corals, and because of the coral, the fish is there. So for me, it's actually quite exciting. Try to revive back all the coral that been missing. At least I can do something to help out. So this program is actually quite good, actually, and Sabah Park is even helping out with us.
What's it like to see organisations like BlueScope in Malaysia coming in to help with programs like this? Were you surprised when that first started?
This is actually the first time that I do it after the conventional style with using the concrete. When Maureen from BlueScope suggests to me that we have this material, so can it be used for this program or not? I'm quite surprised that when we do the test run, the material doesn't rust because rust is not good for the coral survival. So I'm actually quite surprised. And Maureen did give me a few more sample, I think 6 sample, to put it under the sea, see what happened. Does any galvanization happen? But I don't see any. So it's actually quite surprised in the sea.
That's fantastic. Emelyn, could you build maybe on what Rayner's saying about the steel in this role? And you were talking about that third phase. How did it feel to see this coming to fruition?
Well, Rhino, actually, he also shared me during the health check in May this year, just a few months ago. And he told me that when he dived down to have a health check on the corals, so there was one particular type of coral that, let's say, example, coral A. So coral A may not have actually grown on the desired area, but then coral B took place. And then because of this survival, and actually it brings back a lot of small fishes, which those fishes will never had, colonized at that space. So I think right now, because I'm not a diver, and I find that this is very interesting, and nobody knew what really happened and how our steel frame actually looks like underneath. Rhino actually capture in a very good and actual situations how it's actually look like, and with the unstable, wave, and also pressures underneath the sea. And I believe that Rhino is trying his very best to stabilize the locations. Of course, sometimes when a wave is actually larger, and it will be actually distorted, or it will be brought to a different space together. So that probably, Rhino, later on you can just explain to us how was that experience look like. And so on the very, very much, like I really miss is I wasn't able to witness this myself on the first trial, second, and even the third one. So that was something that I really feel a bit regret on that. But definitely connection is something genuine, is an action that we want to contribute to our interdependency with the environment and also the community. And a shared value like this that we have created and contributed to a community, we want a long-term, success and also balance of society systems, and how we can actually do better in where we are operating. This kind of activities, it's actually ongoing to me. There is no stopping, like when after planting it, we'll stop here and then that's it, because the PR is done, pictures taken, and then that's it. But that's not what we're doing. We want to continue to make sure the coral checks are there, the health of the corals are growing, and how does it actually help to bring in more lives under the sea, and what sort of additional benefits that we can actually add more value into that. So to me, this is actually sometimes benefits, whether it's directly to us or it's actually to the environment. I think for now, every companies, they're all talking about ESG, and that was what we have been doing even before everyone mentioning that. I think this is the BlueScope culture and practices, that we always do something that nobody told us, but we just want to do it and make it happen.
That's really brilliant to hear, that you're trying to do these things that have practical benefits for the environment and surrounding communities. So, Rayner, Emelyn mentioned there that you had that first-hand experience. You got to be down there and see this. Can you describe that for us and what you hope to see in the future as this kind of work continues?
Yeah, because the material is actually quite interesting. And then, for example, is the third phase of the project, maybe the second one, I think. The weather did give very bad for the frame, so I have to remove the frame and then save the baby coral and then put it in our nursery. The remaining frames, there is no coral, but there are other coral grow on it. So I didn't dare to touch it because there is a coral that like that frame. So this is actually quite interesting if we can study more on this frame to help out on the a coral one. In the nurseries, the corals start to grow, and when the corals start to grow, it attracts a lot of smaller fishes. And because of these smaller fishes, it also attract bigger fishes. So this is where we bring our divers and see the fishes. Sometimes big fish is also around there, so it's quite interesting. And then we try to remove some of it to reorganize the coral, but we couldn't because of there is a very rare species of fish that already make a habitat on the coral nursery itself. So we just leave it as it is.
Thank you for that further explanation. And I'd like to turn back to Jonathan for a second after that. Hearing about this experience of Rayner's actually going and installing the steel, saving baby coral, which is frankly amazing, and what Emelyn was talking about in how it's proceeded at the company. What sort of feelings do you have about this program, and how important do you think it is as a model, not only for the BlueScope group of companies, but other manufacturers or companies out there who are thinking about how they can practically help the environment and their communities?
I have to first credit to my ex-employee, Miss Maureen, who was the one who initiated this idea, supported her all the way. We gained a lot of experience, and I think the result was very convincing in the sense that not only we are giving back to what we should to the society, and in this case is to preserve the coral restoration. It also proves that our material is very durable. The strength of TRUECORE, as mentioned by Rayner just now, is amazing. It didn't rust. It's been years under the sea. I wish that from this proven result, we can work further with the government. In this case, is Sabah representing the government to look into how best that we can help them in designing a better coral framing from the current one, the third attempt that we had already designed. Because why? From what we have gone through with them, yeah, they are very supportive of us in this initiative in terms of getting us the approval to do this activity, but not so much on how we can collaborate with them in terms of how we can improve the design of the coral frame, and also to provide the educative program on a larger scale. What is our true goal all about? I was actually suggesting to Rayner prior to this interview that we should present our efforts and result to the government. Let them know that we have taken the initiative in terms of corporate social responsibility. Yeah.
That's excellent. And you're talking about education, you're talking about awareness. I hope that following publication of this episode, that it can do something to help educate people or let people know the effort that you've all gone to together to restore coral and this very important marine environment.
Thank you so much. And I also want to thank Martin for this opportunity. And we actually never thought of that we can be giving our voices, and we have a very nice, interview or just a discussion here to come up with what actually we have been doing, and coral definitely is one of it. And I really feel that the next person I really want to thank is actually Rhino and Borneo Divers, for their attention that, they keep coming back to assist us and to check on the health of the coral, and then to make sure that that's any other things that we can actually improve together with them.
We hope that you enjoyed the group interview with Emelyn, Jonathan, and Rayner, and we thank them for generously giving their time. If you'd like to learn more about what you just heard, along with BlueScope's approach to sustainability, please view the links and show notes in your browser or podcast app. Thank you for listening to Voices of BlueScope. We look forward to having you again soon.